Digital empire builders. It is that time for the Cortez Hustle Show, and today we've got another fire episode lined up for you. We're talking with Brian Hill, Mr. Boss Mobility himself, at life coach extraordinaire, and we're making a call to fatherhood. What has happened to the pride and fulfillment that one used to have when the announcement was made that you are the father? We're going to be talking about that today and what we can do as men to help pass that torch to the next generation. So I need y'all to do me a huge favor. Comment in the chat where you're from. Drop the name of your business and or your brand. Smash that share button, ladies and gentlemen, and let's kick it this morning. Yo, what's up, Ultimate Hustlers, and welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show, the business podcast for the entrepreneur of the 21st century. And I'm your host, Cortez Hustle. Our goal is to give you a behind-the-scenes look at how the world's greatest hustlers build amazing brands, scale their businesses to incredible heights, sell more, make more, and create mass movements that impact the world. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned vet or you're sitting on the sidelines with aspirations to one day unleash your inner hustle. This show will provide the insights into how pure grit, determination, and hard work has morphed into some of the most iconic brands and personalities and how they are moving the culture forward. You'll get a mix of solo shows featuring yours truly, as well as interviews and content from other hustlers that I either know personally or I've learned from or whose grind I've come to know and respect. And you'll also get exclusive recordings from our membership called Monetize My Life Academy, which you can check out at monetizemylifeacademy.com. That's a program where we go live every month with some of the best hustlers on the planet, sharing best practices on how we all can explode our brands with advanced branding and marketing tactics, business development strategies, and financial game planning necessary to build the empires we all desire. Again, that's at monetizemylifeacademy.com. If you like today's episode, chances are the hustlers you're connected to will like it as well. Share it with those in your network. And when you do, use hashtag Cortez Hustle so I can see you and hopefully give you a shout out and share you in my stories. So check out today's episode and make sure you subscribe to the feed on your favorite podcasting networks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show. I am, of course, your host, Cortez Hustle, everybody's favorite fatherpreneur, coming to you live and direct from the local Biz Marketing Pro studios right here in St. Louis, Missouri. Listen, if you are a small business owner and you're looking for a way to optimize your online presence, increase your lead flow, grow your revenue so that you can expand your operation and ultimately contribute more to the communities that you serve, look no further. Go to localbizmarketingpros.com. Check out all the things that we have to offer. We can be that marketing service partner for you. Why go and hire a marketing team when you can hire us? localbizmarketingpros.com. Check that out. Today we're talking all things fatherhood. Man, there was a time where fatherhood held so much prestige, right? There was a time where everybody's father was their hero, right? And for some odd reason, something happened, something shifted to where young men today don't seem to want to be fathers anymore. But we're going to figure out why that is, and we're going to get back to the prestige of fatherhood. I got this very special guest hanging out with me this morning, Mr. Brian Hill from Boss Mobility. He's a life coach extraordinaire, and he helps young Black fathers really understand their role in this world and how to take their place with pride, with dignity. So we're going to get into some deep conversations today, but a couple quick announcements before we get into that. I've got some very special episodes coming up, you guys, and I want you to lock in. So if you have not already liked the page, whether you're seeing this on YouTube or Facebook, if you have not already liked, if you have not already followed, if you have not already subscribed, then you, my friend, are missing out. So I want you to subscribe, because tonight we got a very special episode with a young lady, 24 years old. She literally signed a commercial lease for her own child daycare before she signed a lease for her own place, right? How cool is that? And now, beyond the daycare, she runs 2 coffee shops. One is a coffee shop slash eatery, and she teaches confidence and purity to young women all over the city. So we're going to have that conversation with Nishan Harvey of Latte Lounge. And then tomorrow, we're actually going to sit down inside the hustle with my girl, Bridget Bartlett. She is an amazing coach and trainer. She's actually the reason that I got into the software business. She's actually the reason that I started transformed from working with personal coaches and consultants and started helping small businesses with their marketing. So Bridget Bartlett is amazing. You don't want to miss that tomorrow morning. And then for those of you who are in the St. Louis area, you're looking for something to do on Friday night, Latte Lounge and HG Eatery are doing a brunch after dark, right? So let me grab the link and post that in the comments for you guys. $15 if you grab your tickets. They're doing a karaoke style brunch after dark where you're going to be able to come and enjoy, might even be able to enjoy your boy get up on stage. No, I'm kidding. That is the one thing that I'm not going to do. But there is karaoke, there's brunch, there's mimosas, there's a good time waiting for you this coming Friday night at HG Latte Lounge and HG Eatery, which is downtown St. Louis. So make sure you guys go check that out if you want to support a small Black-owned business looking to bring some entertainment to the St. Louis metro area. So that, my friend, are my announcements for the day. Let's go ahead and officially get this party started, man. I can't wait to have this conversation, and I know my guest is chomping at the bits as well. Again, he really needs no introduction, but for those of you who do not know Brian Hill, he's an amazing life coach and strategist, and he wants to help young Black and brown fathers understand the power that rests in the sanctitude of fatherhood and bring that back to prominence, right? And to help young men understand how to enter into that most sacred position with pride, with dignity, with courage, because we all know that as proud as I was when I got the announcement that I was going to be a father, I was excited and shaking in my boots at the same time, right? But that's to be expected. But we want these young brothers to understand that that is a God-given calling on your life and how to manage that. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to some and present to others, Mr. Brian Hill from Boss Mobility Life Coach. Good morning, brother. How are you?
Good morning. I'm challenged yet inspired.
Love it, love it, love it. Well, I am super excited to have you on the show, to have this conversation. As you and I talked offline, there's not enough of this going on in our society today, but we want to get into who you are and what got you on the path that you are on. But before we do any of that, we start the show every day with a quote of the day, right? So the way this works is I'm going to give a quote, and you can either chime in on this one, or if you have your own favorite quote that you like to share, then by all means, feel free to share that as well. The audience, if you got a favorite quote that you like us to read, then type that in the comments as well. So today's quote says this: if you are not now making the progress you'd like to make and are capable of making, it is simply because your goals are not clearly defined, right? Clarity is one of those things that we struggle with in a world full of distractions, right? Full of shiny objects. But if you can get clear and you can focus, man, you can accomplish just about anything. So, Brian, my friend, do you have a favorite quote, or do you want to chime in on that one?
So my response would be a quote that I write down every single day. I'm going to just read it, but I'm also going to show it. This is my little daily notebook. It's about 200-300 pages. I'm on page 120. And every day I write this down at the top of the page. Mighty power flows from him. No matter what happens, faith, hope, and love wins. And win means we incinerate negativity. See? Watch. Because my why is epic. And my Y spells moving your will helps you. MYWHY. Watch simply means watch your words because they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your thoughts. Watch your thoughts because they become your character. And watch your character because it represents your heart. Watch. You see, nothing is impossible with God.
Yeah.
God inspires, empowers, and motivates us. That's why we're talking about fatherhood, because 100 years ago, my father was born, and the only thing that came through was God. Every child, mother, father, everybody knew that one word. And here it is 100 years later, and I'm talking about fatherhood. I'm very clear. I'm very clear on what I'm supposed to be thinking, doing, and feeling.
That's it, my friend. That is it. It doesn't get any better than that. And when you understand the source from which all power flows, like, and when you plug into the plug, right? When you plug into the source, right? We hear young folks running around today talking about, I'm the plug, I'm the plug. Well, my question to those young people is, if you are the plug, what source are you plugged into? Because that is the game changer of life, ladies and gentlemen. You got to be plugged in to the source, and then allow the source to help you become a source and a resource to everything around you, and a conduit to bring more people so that they can plug into that source directly themselves. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the quote of the day right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, brought to you by Automated Leads Machine. Meet the AI assistant that helps scale your cold outreach campaigns faster, cheaper, and easier. We will literally go out and find your ideal customers. We will then put your irresistible offer in front of those ideal customers using automation, and we will filter out those who are interested versus those who are not, and even book them on your calendar for you. So all you got to do is show up and close the deal. Go to localbizmarketingpros.com or check out blackbizsuccess.com to get all the details there. So Brian, my friend, everybody that comes on the Cortez Hustle Show, I ask them this one very question. So you don't get to escape it, brother. I'm going to ask it to you as well. And the question is this: who the heck are you?
You know, I spelled out my name a few months ago. Brian Keith Hill spells believing, believe, really, I am needed, BRIAN. My middle name is Keith, and I focus on keep encouraging individuals to heal, KEITH. And my last name is Hill, helping individuals love life. That's who I am.
Wow. That is heavy, brother. That is heavy. And the way we rock on the Cortez Hustle Show, we talk a lot about entrepreneurship, but you know, the hustle of life is why we put this show together, because life has its way of putting us into a box sometimes. Life has its way of snuffing out the God genius that lives on the inside of each one of us and causes us to conform and all of those things. And I thank God for someone like you is willing to help people through all of that. So let's talk about your background a little bit. You mentioned your dad and, you know, him making sure that you had a relationship with God. What was young Brian like? Let's go elementary, middle school, high school, man. Were you always this positive, upbeat guy, or did you have some things that happened in the young stages of your life that helped bring that out in you?
I grew up in Chicago, Illinois, South Side, West Side, 525 North Sawyer, 519 North Kedzie, 20, I think, on Damon, 2020 Damon Avenue, somewhere on Lake and Damon, and then 3747 South Giles on the South Side. I went to Morris Elementary School. I'm not sure what it's called now. Went to Morton Upper Grade Center from 6th through 8th grade. Went to Orr High School for 1 year and then switched over to Dunbar Vocational High School. And that's when this showed up.
Mm.
This is my boys. We had a marching band, concert band, jazz
Okay.
band. I loved it.
Okay.
That picture is 45 years old.
Wow.
Some of these people in that picture are very famous. Some of you guys know them. And
Mm.
I was so musically focused. I didn't like basketball, football, baseball, right? Like none of that stuff. It was
Mhm.
music and God.
Gotcha.
Literally, I thought I was going to be a minister when I was growing up. I went to
Okay.
the Church of Christ on Monroe Street, the Monroe Street Church of Christ.
Mm.
And that's where we grew up on the south and west sides.
Gotcha. Talk about how the focus on what was dad like in the home, and some of the influences that he had on you musically, on you, because today, no different than 45 years ago, Chicago isn't an easy place to raise a family in, right? So walk us through, some of that, and some of the life lessons that your parents put in and installed that helped you guys to stay focused on doing what you needed to do in an environment where, as my guy MC8 would say, the hood could easily take you under, right? How did you guys survive that? And what was it that mom and dad did to keep you guys on the straight and narrow?
When I think of Chicago, I think of trauma. I suffer
Mm,
from PTSD. Take
mm,
medication. When I hear that word, it's a trigger word. It's a
mm,
fear creative word because what I saw and what I went through, what I remember is running and not wanting to be caught and not being in the wrong neighborhood. And man, I got to walk through all these guys. How am I going to get home? I don't want to go through this. Ain't no other way. If I go that way, it's the wrong gang. I don't know the sign. If I go this way, it's wrong. Ah! I
mm,
mean, I'm 64 years old and I still remember just running, just feeling like I got to get out of here. And
mm,
so trauma and fear. You don't
mm,
say that when you're young. You
mm.
are feeling it and experiencing it. Survival. Just
Yeah.
how do I keep my focus on where I want to go, what I want to
Mm,
become? How do I get out of here?
mm,
That's what I remember right now,
mm,
looking back. And it
mm.
just seems like every generation from where I'm from are going through the same thing.
Yeah.
And I thought if I could ever repeat what my father did,
Mm,
from zero being born to 11 years old, something was set in my heart. Too young to
mm,
know what it is, but today I really understand. My father being Black, the opportunities back in the 60s, 50s were nowhere near what you and I get to do right now.
mm, mm.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
And as a child, you don't know that. And when I
Mm,
look back on my life and I go, how in the world do I have 3 adult children, 5 grandchildren, everyone doing well, everyone graduated, everyone owning and becoming and fulfilling and succeeding and supporting and loving people? How did that happen? And I go, oh, my father, he owned a
mm,
house, he bought a business, he sat down with us at the table. I remember 5, 6 of us at the table. My brothers and sisters are Paul, Tom, Walter, Rosemary, and Susie. Those are my brothers and
mm.
sisters.
Yeah.
And the picture I have in my mind is we had fun. I remember the picture of Riverview. I remember, I don't know, Dad just had a powerful presence in our home. He was
Mm.
there
Yeah.
for 11 years. Something was set in motion. And there's
Yeah.
no way that I could be where I am and who I am and what I have had he not put in me, from
Mhm,
example, what I saw,
mhm.
what I have right now. So I'm just literally a spitting image, I think, of my dad, a fulfillment of some of the things he wanted to do.
Yeah, that's powerful, and I think sometimes we take for granted, and we're going to get into this conversation deeply a little bit later. But I think young men tend to take for granted that presence, right? Because we don't, as young men going into fatherhood, don't have it all figured out. We
Mhm.
kind of run from the opportunities to learn how to figure it out. Hey, let me go over here and figure it out. Then I'm gonna bring it back to my family. No, stay in the presence of your family, and it is that presence and the inspiration of being in that environment is going to help unlock that imagination and that creativity and the juices required for you to figure it out. And I think so many young men and young women fear that, and they don't know it's fear, but that's really what it comes down to, is the fear of the greatness that lies on the inside of them, the fear of turning my back on my crew, turning my back on my buddies that I run with, and going in a different direction and then being ostracized because of it. Like I remember vividly, like when I entered fatherhood, and I'll tell you my story on the other side of this. But it is 7:20, ladies and gentlemen, so y'all know what time it is. For those of you who are new to the Cortez Hustle Show, we do a segment every episode called 1 Minute Motivation. Brian, this is where I'm going to play a short motivational clip, usually 60 to 90 seconds or so. I'm going to get your takeaways. I'm going to give a couple takeaways, and the audience usually comments a couple takeaways as well. I believe so much in personal growth and self-development that I try to incorporate it in just about everything I do. But the key is people don't realize that everything you consume contributes to personal growth and self-development. The question is, are you growing in the right direction? Are you being intentional with what you consume? So we're going to do some positive personal growth and self-development right here on the Cortez Hustle Show. So let's get into 1 Minute Motivation.
Listen, there's a story of two twins, right, that were raised by an alcoholic father, right? One of them became an alcoholic. And they told him, they said, you know, why are you an alcoholic? You're just like your daddy. Why are you alcoholic? He said, it's because I was raised as an alcoholic. The other twin never touched the drink in his life. And they say, that's kind of ironic. Why haven't you even touched a drink? He said, because I was raised by an alcoholic father, and I don't want to be like him. It's not what happens to you that matters the most, but what happens inside of you that matters the most. The enemy came to kill, steal, and destroy. He wants to ruin your peace. He wants to ruin your joy. He wants to ruin your mental and emotional well-being. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Why are we suffering from so much depression, so much anxiety attacks? He's after your peace. You have to let it go. You have to let it go. And as long as you are tied to your past, you cannot reach forth to the future of your destiny.
Ooh-wee. I don't know about you, Brian, but I get chills, man. Listen, here's why I love to do this segment, especially when I have a guest on, right? Because we all just listen to the same clip. But based on where we are in life, we all heard something very different. So what did you hear, my friend?
When I thought about the keyword alcoholic, that was not my experience. That keyword was, are you here? Are you going to stay?
Yeah.
If you're not, where you going?
Mm-hmm.
And when I was 11, the foundation had been set and my dad left. And from that moment, 11 to 18 years old, there was a bitter root that dug deep. The wound was wide. The hole was deep, and I did not understand. And all of my adult life, I've been reacting to that moment. Why did you leave? Why did you leave? What happened? And so I thought, I'm not going to leave.
Yeah.
I'm going to get married.
Yeah.
And so it started at 18 years old.
Powerful,
Very
powerful
clear
stuff. And perception is everything, right? A lot of times we don't understand that the way we see the world is very real to us. That's why they say perception is reality. It's not everybody's reality. It's your reality. How you see the world is how the world is to you. And those two twins who were raised by the alcoholic father, one said, that's why I'm an alcoholic. The other said, that's why I'm not an alcoholic and never touched a drink, is because they saw something, right? My dad was killed when I was 11. It's interesting that you mentioned 11 years old. My dad was killed when I was 11. But even before then, he and my mom had already separated. And I remember living 2 years with him, first grade year and third grade year. I went to school there. But I too, like you said, why did you leave? I said, why did you go and get yourself killed? Like it was, and those wounds have to be addressed. They have to be dealt with. You have to literally go into that infected area, scrape out all of that dead tissue, even though it's going to be painful, and then allow that thing to be sutured up and healed so that you can move forward. So that letting go of the past part is like, you don't just let it go without dealing with it first, because that was part of the reason that in 1998, 99, 2000, I had started to unravel, brother. I had literally lost my mind. Literally. You know, you're a church guy. You go into a church and we have those portions of the church where people give their testimony and they say, I want to thank God who's the head of my life. And I want to thank him for clothing me in my right mind this morning. Well, most people who give that testimony have never woken up outside of their right mind. So they don't even really know what they're thankful for, right? I have. And it's like, man. And it was that word trauma that you talked about. We've got to help identify and heal the traumas that we're dealing with, especially as men, because I believe that we are the key to turning this whole thing around. And then the last thing that I want to mention from there is the attack on your peace, brothers.
Yes.
There is a serious attack on your peace, right? Even the agitation, and sometimes men use the excuse that I got a nagging wife, so I don't want to be there, right? But then you go out into these streets and it's a bunch of other distractions there, man. Life is hard either way. You're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. It's hard. Choose your heart, and it's better to choose to be at home with your heart. So that is 1 Minute Motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, brought to you by Boss Mobility Life Coaching Services. If you are a father and you're struggling to figure out where fatherhood is to be placed in your life, you're struggling to figure out manhood, you're struggling to figure out life, career, husbandry, if you're married, you're struggling to figure out relationships with your friends and how all of these things fit together for you to be the best version of yourself, you need to check out my man, Ryan Keith Hill, Boss Mobility Life Coaching Services. Sean S.P. Thompson says, salute, right? And Conversations Tease said, Raider Rob in the building, and let's go, Brian. So you and I have that interesting intersection in our lives where at the age 11, your dad left. Age 11, my dad got killed, right? My dad probably not different from you. He was a Vietnam vet. So he came back from Vietnam, hooked on drugs, and it was a really volatile life for him from age 20 on, and trying to figure out how to live with some of the traumas that he's seen and experienced. And ultimately, those drugs got him into a situation where he ended up fighting a guy. Guy comes back, kills him. And I was 11 years old, right? And even though we didn't have much of a relationship, that which I do remember, it was cool. It seemed like he was all right. But I do remember, even to this day, right? You talked about Chicago being a trigger word for you. Even when I see an adult man with his father, I still ask myself the question, why'd you go and get yourself killed? Right? Because my dad never got to see me as an adult, never met any of my children. And that is a trigger for me, that still like, man, you went and got yourself killed. And I would have loved for my kids to get to know you. I would have loved to have been there to help you through that addiction if God saw fit or whatever. Right. Yeah. So talk about dealing with trauma and acknowledging trauma in one's life and the significance of that for all of us, but in particular for men as they are entering into fatherhood.
You know, I've done a lot of different personality assessments to find out what I think, what I see, what I feel.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 18, the vision was I'm going to get married and I'm going to do 4 things. I'm going to teach my kids, train my kids, raise my kids or guide them, and I'm going to send them back out into the community so that they can contribute to other people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very, very clear set of posts in my heart.
Yeah.
And then I remember dealing with the core fear of being rejected. These are core, deep down fears.
Mm-hmm.
And they can be expressed as fears of having no identity, no personal significance, striving for individuality or chronic frustration. These are core fears I have.
Yeah.
I fear anything that would confirm my feelings of unworthiness, like being made wrong, or being confronted, or being talked to in front of a group. And now I got to respond after the words come out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And those fears pushed the desires that I have. And the desire is I want to be authentic. I'm not going to be like everybody else. I ain't playing football.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be singularly focused. I want to be unique. In the Black community, if you're 250 to 350 pounds, somewhere in there, you expect it. If you're 6 feet and under, play football, lineman, linebacker, all that. I didn't want to do that. I don't want anybody running to me 100 miles an hour talking about, yeah. I said, you know what? I want to get paid for how I think. You ain't running into me and I ain't running into you. I don't need that. That's not a desire. So I went the route of marriage and family and fatherhood. That's what I want to be. I'm going to put that passion, focus into becoming that. That is a need that I had. I saw that the fears and the desires created a need to be artistic or gifted or express myself and accomplish something. I had a thesis question when I was 18 because I was looking back going, where are the men going? And there was a template that I kind of checked, and it was like drugs, gangs, running a group with other friends your age or somewhere in there. Dad left, didn't come back. And for whatever reason, there was something that created, I'm leaving. And I just believe, no, I have a question. Can I grow up and stay with my family? Can a Black man stay and don't leave? Just don't leave. Just don't leave. And it was a deep belief. And so I expressed it in my lifetime with my children. I don't want to be a statistic. I don't want to drink, smoke. I don't want to go to parties. I was literally focused on, I got to be a dad. I cannot quit. I got to raise my kids. Simone, Isaac, and Jamie do not need to look at me and go, ugh. So I found quickly what I liked. And I realized if I just do what's right and repeat it, there was a reward. Pat on the back, he did it. And I remember, man, I want to be good.
There you go. There you go.
I want to do what's right. And of course, my right was skewed, turned into pride, arrogant, selfish, independent person. Oh, man. My 6th grade teacher told me, you impudent upstart, who do you think you are? And I go, I got him. I was 12 years old. I got that 76-year-old white man. I got him. And that power that I felt, it just kept going and kept growing. And I used it when I was with other people. And I'm with groups. I'm not following the group. I don't want to be with no group. You're not going to tell me what to do, when to do, and how to do. And I fought that all my life. And then when I had to get a job, I don't want to work with you. I don't like this group. I don't like this job. 57 jobs later, because I couldn't control my impulse. I couldn't control my arrogance. I couldn't control. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. And it messed me up. I think it messed up my kids, in some ways. And I wish I could take that back. Anyway, I know what I like and I know what I don't like. Let me just shut up.
I love that, man, because while we know that trauma can mess with us, right? But you and I had a similar trauma in losing our dads early in life. But it was the losing of my dad and my life's history that made me want to be a dad more than anything else. That was like, at one point I said, I want to be an electrical engineer. I like to take stuff apart and tinker with stuff. But really, since I could remember, right, because of some traumas I'm going to tell you about in a second, all I could remember was wanting to be a dad. See, when I was a young boy, 3-4 years old, my mom fled Mississippi You know, my great grandma would say she was being fast, right? Because she
Mm,
didn't want to, you know, abide by the rules in the house and all of that stuff. So she fled, moved to New York. In New York, she got with a guy who was abusive. Her exit strategy was, I gotta, you know, it's six of us. I'm fourth born of six children. Her exit strategy was, I can't run with all these kids. So let me start shipping some of them away. She shipped me
mm,
to my grandma, my sister, to my great grandma. I didn't realize at the time until
right.
recently that my mom talked to me about it. She was like, well, your dad was supposed to come pick you up. He never showed up. So I ended up staying with my grandma. In my grandma's house, I got molested by my uncle, right? So that created a trigger, a trauma. But even in that, the biggest problem as I look back on the traumas of my life, you know what hurt
Yeah.
me more and caused more trauma was
Mm,
the neglect. See, I moved into my grandma's house, and you are familiar with this. Like, and grandma's house is a big 3-story house. All of her kids and her kids' lived there. So it was an amazing space for those who had their parents there. They had a section of the house, they had a section. Here I am. My mom's in New York, my dad's in Mississippi. I'm here. And even though they were my family, I didn't know those people.
yeah.
I moved into a house full of strangers and was watching my cousins get to hang out with their mom and dad. Like at the end of the night, everybody
Yeah.
retreated to their own portions of the house with their family,
Yeah.
and I didn't have that.
Yeah.
So that trauma, I believe, was the foundation and the source of me saying, I just want to be a great dad. I don't care what I do in life, as long as being a
Yes.
great dad is part of that equation, that's what I want to do. Point blank, period. So that trauma caused something good. And I remember as a young man seeing baby daddy drama and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, man, I ain't never messing with no woman with no kids. That ain't gonna happen. Right.
Mm,
And then God said, you ain't mess with no woman with no kids. That's funny. Meet these two boys right here that you're gonna raise. So when I
mm,
met my wife, she had 2 kids from a previous marriage, and I
yes.
instantly became a dad. Like,
Yes.
and then I couldn't let him beat me, Brian. So I gave her 3
Mm,
more. So now we got 5. He gave her 2, I gave her 3. So now we got 5. He couldn't beat me.
ah,
So now we got
yeah.
5 and all boys. And I realized the significance of that because all of my cousins, my brother, uh, the men in our lives, we're radically different from the men
Yeah.
who raised us or the men who were supposed to raise us. Because of their absence, the trauma that they created caused us all to say, nah, that ain't gonna be us.
Not gonna be that way.
That ain't gonna
That's
be
right.
us, man. So trauma has its effects, but that trauma has to be dealt with because it was that same trauma that caused me to want to be a great
Mm-hmm.
dad.
Mm-hmm.
Because of suppressing the pain of that trauma, it also caused me
Yes.
to lose my mind,
Yes.
right? So I end up being hospitalized and I had to work my way through and really heal from that. And I thank God for a praying wife, a praying mom, a praying grandma that she was able to love me through all of that. And now here we are trying to help pass the torch to other fathers and talk about the significance thereof. So in your practice, man, what was it that made you really say, the Black father, I'm going to serve them with everything that I got?
I think that understanding my mission and purpose and goal early in life was clear. I was put here to love God and make disciples,
Mm-hmm.
period. Now, start with your family, have kids,
Mm-hmm.
disciples,
Yeah.
love God, show it in your marriage.
Mm.
20, 30, 40 years later, Black man, are you going to still be there? So
Mm.
I'm going, it's been 45 and a half years since I made that decision. I'm here. I'm still here. Oh my God. How am I supposed to react? Am I supposed to
Mhm.
be famous? Do I get my crown? No, stupid. You was told to stay home and take care of your kid. You don't get no prize. You don't
Mhm.
get no crown.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
if I stay married and don't leave, do I get a prize? I thought you're supposed to get something if you do what's right.
Yeah.
No, you
Right.
do what's right.
Yeah.
The torch must need to be passed, and the fire on top of that is What's going on the inside of you? Let me tell you two things that I got on what you just said. Number one, 6 kids, you're number 4. Just so you know, 6 kids, I'm number 4. You got that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I want you to know that I hear you, Cortez.
Yeah.
I want you to know that I heard you. I want you to know that I see you.
Yeah.
I want you to know that I understand the wound. I'm carrying it, but it's not going to define us.
That's right.
It's not going to dictate where we go. It's not going to dictate who we pass on. You see, the fire is now on top of the torch. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's where I want to be. And here's where I want to go.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to go with me, I'm going.
Because
a Black fatherhood mindset is simply look around. What do you see? Is that what you want to be? What do you have? Is that what you want to have? Where do you want to go? You got to leave here because life is different outside of the hood.
Yeah.
And you got to go learn how to do that. So how do I get out? How do I take the torch and leave? Do I get on the car? Do I get on my bike? Do I get on the bus? Can't get on no plane. They got no money. How do I leave? All I thought about was I got to get out of here. So I got on the Greyhound bus and went to college.
There you go.
And the first day of college, August 26, 1976, graduated Dunbar High School, June. Forgot what day. I think it was 6. 3 months later, I am leaving the ghetto on the Greyhound bus going to college, Southwestern Christian College. First day I get in there, I used to play piano and fool around with chords. And I'm in this room playing piano, and 3 kids walk in from California. And I look around, I go, she looked different. I'm talking about my wife. Light skin, blonde hair, green eyes, white looking skin. And go, albino. Anyway, so I like her. Inside.
Right.
However, God worked it out. 5 months. We're talking 9 months later, we're married. I went to the Army in January 1977. I got to have a job. I got to have a place to stay. I got to have not a McDonald's, not a Chicken Unlimited, not a White Castle. I need a real job. Yeah. And I remember we got married in May 21st, 1977. The first child, Simone, came in the world 1978. The second child came in the world, Isaac, 1979. And I think the third child, 10 years later, Tim Marie, 1989. I'm going, oh my God, they're here. Yeah. All right. The flame is the passion, conviction, and power to do and complete and be, do, have. The torch is, what do I believe? What do I think? What do I see? How am I going to represent what God wants? And so before I can carry that torch, I got to build my family. And I found out early I knew how to sing, speak, teach, drive.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. My life is very simple. I can't work for you, but I can sing, speak, teach, and drive. And so I built my life around those words. And the torch that's being passed on now is, brothers, Black men, fathers, do you understand what you see? Can you communicate with your words? Can you articulate your ideas? Can you convey the meaning to a child, to another brother? Yeah. See, life coaching to me is just listen to you. I heard you. Yeah. I hear you. You can't pay me to listen to you. You can't pay me to love you. You can't pay me to hold the space that you have. So I do it automatically for free. Yeah. And then if you're in business, I'm gonna market you like crazy, and you can't give me nothing because I'm giving it away.
I love it. I love it. And I think one of the struggles that we have, and you mentioned that, and you figured it out, because a lot of times I hear brothers say they have that I can't work for you, or I've got to do my own thing, and yet they do no thing. Right? It's like you can't have both, right? And you really have to get it figured out. So if you can't work for anybody else, can you work for yourself and be the provider and the protector that you were called and placed to be? I remember going into work. I worked in corporate for one company for about 12 or 13 years. And people can understand why I'm whistling on my way to work, right? Why I'm so happy to be here. Because for me, it's not a job. For me, it's the fulfillment of a duty. I've been given a God-given duty to provide for and protect my family. One of the ways that I can provide for and protect my family is to go into this job with the right attitude, bring home a paycheck that's going to be able to afford us to live in a quasi-safe neighborhood, because we know as a Black man, ain't nowhere in America safe. And I got 5 of them jokers, right?
Yes.
But to the best of my ability, I'm not thinking about the job. I'm thinking about the duty. I have to be able to provide and protect. But I also knew that while I was able to go get a paycheck, put us in a somewhat of a safe suburban neighborhood, they went to somewhat of a quality school, that was the provision, but the protection was absent. Now, some would say, well, you protected them, you put them in a safe neighborhood, right? But I also sent them to some schools where racism existed, and I couldn't leave the job and come hold my son when someone said something out of the way and help explain to him how to deal with that emotionally. That's also protection, right?
Yes.
You gotta be there, fellas. You gotta be there. And I don't care whether you and that lady who bore those children can't get along and you can't coexist under the same roof, that does not negate the fact that you got to be there.
Yes.
As much and as often as possible. So as you were going through and figuring out the job thing ain't gonna cut it, I'm going to leverage my gifts, my talents, and the things that I do well, and I'm going to make money to feed the family. What was the thoughts of those around you? Because I can imagine people saying, he needs to get a job, right? He needs to get stable employment and take care of his family. Because when I first came on the scene, I had long dreadlocks, smoked weed every day, and was doing real estate, was hustling, was doing a bunch of stuff, bringing in money. And my wife's family was like, he is not the one. You need to get away from that boy as fast as you can. But here we are 26 years later. So talk about your mindset as you had your plan for yourself, but you didn't allow the opinions of others to force you into doing some things that you, A, wouldn't be successful doing, B, wouldn't be happy doing, and you did your own thing and raised your family your own way.
You got to be really clear. Provision and protection is not just outwardly for the children or working. Provision and protection is, who are you? What's going on inside of you? What do I like? What do I not like? And I had to be really clear that I dislike being in an ordinary space. I'm just one person in this crowd. Don't nobody see me.
Yeah,
I got to be an employee. They're not going to pay me what I want. You know, I dislike censorship. I dislike uniformity and regulation. I just don't like that. I don't like structure. I feel shame and I'm disconnected from others when I'm in a group. Like you and I are talking right now. If it's 5 or 6 people here, you would not hear me say a word because I don't feel comfortable in that space. I can't be myself. Now, some people can, and they repeat it every day, and they don't say anything. They just show up for work and show up for work. I don't like that. That's not living. I want to get paid out of who I am, not because of what I know how to do. I dislike getting paid for repetitive, whatever the thing is that I'm doing. No, I'm not living. I can't do that. You know, if I receive criticism and blame in an open setting with people, I'm like disappearing, shrinking, and got to get away from this. That pain of self-consciousness because I can't respond appropriately. Someone say something to me, I automatically going to say something back. I'm not supposed to, but it's going to trigger. I'm just supposed to listen to you, and I have nothing to say for 2 hours. So that was just, I didn't like that. So how am I going to shape what I do like, which is finding out what's original and giving a meaning to it? Okay, what's original? I grew up in the ghetto. What meaning is it? I'm going to become something different. I like being adored and valued and treated as important. I like that. I like making a unique contribution. I like feeling loved and approved and accepted. So that means I got to love, approve, and accept other people. And I realized that I knew how to do that easily. I think it's Romans chapter 12 that God said, if you know how to give, give, serve, serve, encourage, encourage, teach, teach. I can do that. But that's not a job. That's a way of living. Okay, so I love Romans chapter 12. And the reason I picked entrepreneurship is because I picked it when I was 18. Being married, raising kids, it's a job. You gotta learn. You gotta figure it out.
That's right.
And I did not want my friends telling me how to be a dad. Oh,
yeah.
That was so hard. I grew up in a church where people got together and they ask you open-ended questions, and in front of this group, you gotta open. I go, no, I resisted that for 30 years. And everybody knows me. No, I don't want to be in no group. No. I got a friend that said, we like to study the Bible with different guys when they're open, interested. And one of my friends said, hey man, look, we get about 5 guys and we're going to study. I said, what? 5 men looking at one guy answering questions to the 5? I am not going to be in that group. Love God, love the word, but I'm not sitting in no group with 5 guys hammering on one who may know or not know. And so we argued in front of his house, trying to help set up. How are we going to help? Rob, Hannah, don't ever do that to me again. Ready, Rob? And so we fought, we argued, but I love him. I got friends that are black and white, all different. And I need them now to shore me up. I need to ask for help. I need to get input. I need, but I don't want to hear it when I ask you.
Yeah, and I think you're hitting on one of my favorite topics, and that is self-awareness. Like, I think as men, I want you to get your thoughts on this definition of manhood, this what I call TV masculinity, where they tell you how to be a man, right? But I think self-awareness is so key. You are aware at a very young age that I'm musically inclined. I want to be creative. So therefore, all of the proverbial boxes that exist that everybody wants to put me in, I'm rejecting them with every ounce of my being, right? But sometimes we don't often know who we are because of who the world has told us we are. I have a quote that I like to say on this show all the time, is that I spent the first 26 to 27 years of my life trying really, really hard to convince the world that I really was who I was pretending to be. And I think so many men are in that same boat. I am pretending to be because it's socially acceptable for me to be this way. And that internal conflict will kill you, brothers. Figure out who you are and be the best version of that all your life. When it comes to the definition of manhood, which ultimately out of that comes fatherhood, what do you think about the way the world defines a man and masculinity, right? Is it time for a new definition?
So since every black man is different and they have to figure that out for themselves, there's no one that can tell you what manhood is. It's not cultural. What I mean by culture is we all have cultural tendencies, things we see, believe, understand. But when I think of fatherhood or manhood, I think of what inspires me, what empowers me, what motivates me. And let's define that, because this is the definition within my fatherhood. God inspires, empowers, and motivates. So God is my fatherhood perspective, representative. You know what I'm saying? Image, God. It's not a face. It's not a person. The idea of I can be like God, fatherhood. Okay. Who can I inspire? Can I inspire myself? Can I give myself this urge or an ability to do something or feel something, especially creativity? If I can do that, and I know that, I'm going to inspire myself. And if I know how to inspire myself, I'm going to pass that on to you, Cortez. Empowerment, the authority or power to do something. Once I figured out that I could leave the ghetto, once I figured out that I can go to college and get a couple of degrees, once I figured out that my wife loves me and I love her and I want my kids to feel powerful, man, that's authority. To do something. So entrepreneurship was clear when I got married. Okay, CEO, wife, next power broker, kids, employees. Okay, 5 years, 10 years, 20, 25, 30. We're going, we're making it, we're doing it. And I'm going, but how come I can't work? I'm inspired and empowered, but I ain't broke. I'm just broke. And
Love
so I
it.
had to find a way to be motivated. So manhood inside of me is inspiration, empowerment, and motivation. That
Mhm.
motivation is something that's going to move you to do something.
Yeah.
Empowerment is the authority. Inspiration is that feeling of creating. So manhood for me is create, inspire, empower, and become. And it's not something like you reached.
Yeah.
We're still growing. We're still
Always.
changing. We're still becoming. And
Always.
that's why I can't get paid to do it, even though I really want $150 per session for 18. I can't. I'm just going to do it anyway. And so when I look at my bank, my wife is like really professional, like
Mhm.
waffle and spaghetti. I use that example.
Yeah.
Like waffles have every box, like a checkerboard, right?
Mhm.
And you do
Mhm.
one box, and then you go to the next box, and you plan the next box. And 3 weeks later, you're at the end of the waffle. That
Yeah.
is not me. I'm like spaghetti all over the waffle. You don't know where I start, where I end. I'm like laying all over the place, not being where I need to be. And my wife is
Yeah.
like so consistent and persistent and planning. I think that's why I'm still married, because God gave me a heart of representation of Him with
Mhm.
100%, 180 degrees opposite from me. And
Gotcha.
there's no way that
Yeah.
as what I saw and how I think and how I process, you can't take in no family like that. So I think my wife is the leader in my family. I think my wife is the control tower person. You got a plane, you got a
Yeah.
pilot. I got
Mhm.
this from Eric Thomas. He has an assessment. He's a motivational speaker. And I heard him for the first time
Mhm.
September 16th. I listened to the whole book, UOU. I'm
Yeah.
going, what do I feel like I'm hearing myself and my experience? Because
Yeah.
he found out who he was. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, I'm a dad. I can't
Mhm.
get away from that.
That's
I'm a
right.
father.
That's right.
You can't pay me for that.
Mhm.
And 45 years later, I should be jumping on a trampoline going, we made it. Let's keep going. Let's let the brothers know, hey, this is
Yeah.
how you become a father. Come talk to me.
That's
Let
right.
me talk to you. Let me just
I love
listen.
it.
You can't pay me. You cannot pay me to do this. But
Yeah.
I want to hear what you got to say. And when you walk away from that 10, 15 minutes that we talked, if you feel heard, I got paid.
Love it. Love
That's
it.
life coaching to me.
Let's
That's
get
it. It's
into
like church, fellowship, hug.
right.
That's it. I don't need your money. I ain't got it anyway. So
Listen, we are rapidly approaching the end of the hour, and I'm going to tell you right now we're going to go over just a little bit, but I got to get to this segment with you. This is my second favorite segment of the show. It's called Freestyle, Brian, because I know you got bars. You didn't come up in Chicago on the South Side and the West Side, and you can't spit no bars, brother. No, freestyle is not about rapping or rhyming. But as I'm building this multi-billion-dollar international media conglomerate, starting with this podcast, I don't always ask the right questions. The conversation doesn't always evolve where we want it to go. So freestyle is me giving my guests the opportunity to take 2 minutes and either reiterate something that we've already covered that you feel is important, or if we didn't get to something that's on your heart that you really feel men need to hear, then you can drop that in their spirits right now. So let's get to some freestyle right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, the Brian Hill version. Hit them with your best bars, bro.
I'm grateful for Tom, Walter, Paul, Rosie, and Susie, my sisters and brothers. I'm grateful for my sons, my son-in-law, Wes, Isaac. I'm grateful for my nieces and nephews. And my nephews, I have 6 or 7 men in our family. Isaac and Wes are right in the middle of parenting, 15 years in. They're doing a great job. I'm very, very proud of them. I got 2 single nephews, Alexander and Dante, growing up, young Black men. And they're watching everybody. And I'm watching them thinking, man, what are they seeing? My nephew in Chicago, Jonathan Hill, looks just like my dad. I swear, Jonathan, you look like grandpa. And then Micah and Malik and Camden, Jacoby, and Isaiah. These are the kids that are preschool, elementary school, preteens. They're watching us.
Yeah.
And in my mind, if God brought my dad into the world in 1923, and next year would be 100 years later, and that one word came through, I guess the only thing I want to say is I want all the men in the family to know that. Learn about God.
Yeah.
There's nothing else you're going to remember about us when we leave. But if you remember that, you'll be doing great. When my son was naming his child, I go, you better get my name in the Bible, because when you go, if he don't know who he is and where he's from or how he got that name, we may lose God. And so he named his son Isaiah. Isaac is the only son that I have. And I poured everything I could into him. The girls, Simone and Jamie Reed, they are powerful women. I just know it. But the men in the family, I want them to be powerful. I want them to know God. I want them to love each other and love people. And you cannot pay people to do that. You just got to give. Black men, we can be fathers. You don't believe it? Call me. Let's have a conversation.
Boom. Drop to mic. That is freestyle right here, the Brian Hill version, Boss Mobility Life Coaching Services. Tell everybody how they can reach you, brother, how they can connect with you. And I'll make sure I put the links in the show notes as well. But how can they get in touch with you if they want to have that conversation about fatherhood?
BossMobility.net is the website. 510-415-2098 is the phone number. Info@bossmobility.net is the email. All we got to do is talk. You don't need to pay me. You can't. We just need you need a man to talk to you and listen to you every day, all day, and that's it.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. A call to fatherhood, man, and the let's restore that prestigious position, not only in the household but in society.
That's
Fatherhood has kind of lost its savor. It's like what does the word say? If salt loses its savor, then what good is it? If the power of fatherhood loses its savor, which we understand why there's an attack on fatherhood, especially in our communities, we cannot sit back and allow that to happen. What does it take for evil to prevail? For good people to sit back and do nothing. That's all it takes, right? And we are good people. Brian is good people. You are good people. You got to do something about this fatherhood discussion. Make fatherhood what it's intended to be and watch the world transform overnight. This is the Cortez Hustle Show, and we are out of here. Until next time, I want you to get your money up because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you. Now hustle up. But you've got to overcome fear if you're going to win.
You're tuned into the Cortez Hustle Show. Please like and subscribe.